The first time I realized how easy it was to enter a home, I wasn't standing on anyone's porch. I was sitting in my car across the street, engine off, watching a warm rectangle of light spill from a kitchen window. I could see a family moving inside, someone laughing, someone rinsing dishes, a child darting past like a little shadow, and I remember thinking, with a kind of cold awe, they think they're safe because the doors are locked. I need you to understand something right away. Most of what I did back then didn't start with breaking in. It started with being let in, not with a key, with a crack. So if you're watching this with your phone in your hand, maybe in bed, maybe on the couch with your kids in the next room, I'm asking you for a few minutes of your attention. Not because I want to scare you for fun. I don't. I'm not proud of what I used to be. I still wake up some nights with my heart beating like I've been running. But I'm talking now because I've seen what happens when families don't know the rules of the game they didn't agree to play. And if you only remember one sentence from this whole story, make it this: a home isn't entered through a doorway first. It's entered through permission, spoken, unspoken, accidental, or desperate. Back then, I wasn't the kind of witch people imagine from movies. No dramatic storms, no chanting on mountaintops, no green smoke curling out of a cauldron. It was quieter, normal looking. The kind of normal that slides into your life like a familiar song you don't realize is changing your mood. I looked like anyone else. I could be the helpful neighbor, the friend of a friend, the woman who sells handmade things online, the person who compliments your child in a grocery store line, the sweet lady at a community event, the one who remembers your name. And that's the first way we entered, through trust. A lot of families picture danger as something ugly, something loud, something obviously wrong. But the most effective doors are the ones people open themselves because it feels polite. Let me tell you what I used to look for. I looked for houses where the adults were tired, where the mother had that look like she was carrying 5 invisible grocery bags of worry and still smiling, where the father's shoulders were always tight, like he never fully exhaled, where the couple talked but didn't really meet each other's eyes. I looked for homes where someone felt unseen, because when people feel unseen, they reach. And reaching is a kind of invitation. I'm going to say this carefully. I'm not claiming every argument, every bad week, every weird coincidence is a witch. Life is hard on its own. People get sick, money gets tight, kids struggle, marriages strain. But I am telling you what I did, what people around me did, and what worked over and over again, because the method is always the same. Find the soft spot, press gently, wait for the door to open. Sometimes the door was curiosity. Curiosity is one of the easiest ways into a home because nobody treats it like danger. It's dressed up as just looking and just for fun. It would start with a conversation that felt harmless. Someone would say, "Do you believe in energy?" Or, "Have you ever had your cards read?" Or, "My friend said you're spiritual." Or, "Can you tell me if someone's jealous of me?" Or, "I think my house has bad vibes. What do I do?" And I would listen. I'd nod like I understood them better than anyone ever had. I'd let silence hang in the air just long enough that they filled it with their fears. People will tell you everything when they think you have answers. Then I'd offer something small, something that didn't look like a threat. A little object, a charm, a blessing, a harmless looking gift. And this is where families don't realize what's happening. The moment you accept something into your home because you believe it carries power, good or bad, you've already agreed that it has permission to matter there. You've given it a seat at your table. It's not the object by itself. It's what you believe you just invited to live alongside you. I used to give gifts that were easy to display, something pretty for a shelf, something that looked meaningful. Sometimes it was a little bundle tied with string, sometimes it was jewelry, sometimes it was a decorative piece with symbols that most people didn't recognize. And no, I'm not going to sit here and list symbols like a shopping catalog for anyone with bad intentions. That's not why I'm speaking. What I will tell you is this. If something comes into your house and it makes you feel uneasy, but you keep it anyway because you don't want to seem rude, that's a crack. If something comes into your home and you start treating it like it has a will, like it's watching, like it's influencing, another crack. And cracks don't always look like fear. Sometimes they look like fascination. I can still remember the way some people's eyes would brighten when I handed them something, like I'd handed them a secret, like they were finally part of something special. A lot of people don't want protection. They want control. They want to know who's talking about them. They want their partner to stop pulling away. They want to be chosen. They want to win. They want to be envied. And when someone wants control badly enough, they'll open doors they don't understand. That was the second way in, desperation. Desperation makes people sign contracts with their mouths without realizing it. A woman would say, I'll do anything to keep him. A man would say, I just need this deal to go through. A mother would whisper, please, just make my child stop changing like this. And I would keep my face calm. I'd speak softly. I'd make it feel sacred. I didn't have to force my way in. They pushed the door wide open and begged me to step inside. But here's the part nobody likes to admit, and I'm saying it as someone who used to exploit it. The strongest entry point into a home is not the front door. It's the atmosphere inside the walls. If your home is full of constant yelling, contempt, silent punishment, bitterness that never gets resolved, do you know what that is? It's permission. It's a standing invitation for anything that feeds on division. Back then, I would sometimes sit with someone and all I'd do was ask questions, little questions, gentle ones. Does your husband ever make you feel small? Do you feel like your wife respects you? Do you think your sister is jealous of you? Do you ever feel like your friends secretly want you to fail? Do you feel like your mother-in-law is trying to control your home? And I'd watch the person's face. I'd watch for the moment their expression changed, when something inside them said, yes, finally, someone sees it. Then I'd add just a little more, a suggestion, a seed. Not enough to sound crazy, not enough to sound like a villain, just enough to tilt the floor under their feet. And that's the third way in, through suspicion. Because suspicion is a self-replicating thing. You don't need to do much once a family starts suspecting each other. They do the damage for you. They start checking phones. They start interpreting everything as an insult. They stop giving each other the benefit of the doubt. They start isolating. They stop praying together, eating together, laughing together. They sleep back to back instead of face to face. They stop being a team. And once a family stops being a team, they become easy to influence. Here's a story I haven't told out loud until now. There was a home I entered without ever stepping inside. A friend introduced me to a woman who felt invisible in her marriage. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't mean. She was just lonely. She did everything. She held the house together and she felt like nobody noticed. I met her once for coffee. Once I listened. I nodded. I said, "You're not crazy." I told her she was intuitive. I told her she was sensitive to energy. I told her she was carrying other people's emotions. All things that sound supportive until you realize how they can be used. Before we left that cafe, she asked me if I could cleanse her home. I told her I didn't need to come over. I said I could help her from a distance, but I needed one thing, something personal from the home, not because I needed it like a battery. Don't get caught up in the mechanics. Understand the principle. I needed a bridge, a point of focus, a permission slip, and she gave it to me, a small item that belonged to her child. When she handed it over, she looked relieved, like she'd finally found the missing piece. I remember holding that item in my hand and feeling powerful, not because I was strong, because she had opened the door so wide she didn't even see the hinges. After that, her house started to change, not with horror movie nonsense. It changed in subtle ways. More tension, more misunderstandings, more exhaustion. Her child became clingy, then angry. Her husband started staying out later, not necessarily cheating, just avoiding. And every time something went wrong, she thought, it's the energy, it's the curse, it's someone against me. So she came back to me again. And again. Do you see it? The entry wasn't into her living room. The entry was into her mind, her marriage, her motherhood. And once I was there, I didn't have to haunt her house. She carried me in her thoughts like a second shadow. That's the fourth way in, dependence. If someone convinces you that you can't have peace without them, if you feel like you need their readings, their protection, their guidance, their objects in your home, you are already trapped. And families, listen to me. Dependence is not spiritual help, it's a leash. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, but how do they cross the line? How do they actually get into the house? Sometimes they do get inside physically, and when they do, it's rarely dramatic. It's usually invited, a house blessing, a birthday, a gathering, a friendly stop by, a gift delivery, a neighbor needing to borrow something. If you let someone into your home who quietly studies it, who looks a little too long at family photos, who asks where everyone sleeps, who comments on your child's temperament like they're taking notes, pay attention. Because some people don't enter to admire your decor, they enter to map you. And yes, sometimes it's even more ordinary than that. Sometimes it's what you bring home yourself. Thrifted items with a strange heaviness you can't explain. Antiques that make you feel watched. Second-hand mirrors that never feel like they belong. Little trinkets your child gets from someone at school. Cute decorations that carry meanings you don't know. Online purchases from sellers who promise luck, love, revenge, protection. I used to count on people's hunger for shortcuts. Because families are busy, parents are exhausted, nobody has time to slow down and ask, why do I feel uncomfortable with this? So they ignore the feeling, and ignoring your instincts is another crack. But the worst entry point, the one that made me feel sick once I started waking up to what I'd done, was when I realized how often witches didn't need to touch a family at all. They only needed the family to turn on itself. You want to know what I looked for the most? Not candles, not rituals, unforgiveness, old wounds. The sentence, I'll never forgive you for that. The way someone flinches when their partner walks into the room. The way a teenager rolls their eyes like they've already decided their parents are the enemy. The way a parent speaks curses over their own child without realizing it. You're just like your father. You're impossible. You ruin everything. Those words are doors. You might not believe that in a mystical way. Fine, believe it in a human way, because a home full of those words becomes a home where love can't breathe. And anything that thrives on chaos doesn't need to be summoned. It's already comfortable there. I'm telling you all this, and I can almost feel some of you wanting to ask the next question, the one everyone asks me when they find out what I used to be. How do I know if something has already gotten in? I can answer that, but I want to do it carefully because I don't want you paranoid. I don't want you seeing enemies in every corner. Fear is also a doorway, and I'm not here to hand you that key. When people asked me, how do I know if something has already gotten in? I used to love that question. Not because I enjoyed their fear, at least not out loud. I loved it because it meant the person had already shifted. They were no longer asking, what can I do to make my home stronger? They were asking, what's happening to me? And that tiny change makes you easier to lead. So I'm going to answer you differently than I would have back then. I'm going to tell you the signs I watched for, yes, but I'm also going to tell you how to respond in a way that doesn't make the problem worse. Because fear, panic, and obsession are exactly the kind of atmosphere that keeps a family stuck. First, let me say something that might calm you down if your mind is racing. Not every bad season is an attack. Not every nightmare means someone sent something. Not every argument means your house is compromised. Sometimes you're just exhausted. Sometimes you're grieving. Sometimes you're living under financial pressure. Sometimes your child is struggling at school and doesn't know how to say it. Sometimes your marriage needs help you've been postponing. Back then, I depended on people skipping those possibilities because the supernatural explanation feels more interesting. It feels like a shortcut. It feels like you don't have to do the hard work of changing patterns because the enemy is out there. But there are patterns I used to recognize, and I'm going to share them in plain language. One of the first signs was a shift in the emotional temperature of the home. Not a single fight, not a single stressful day, a shift. It's when the house stops feeling like a place where you can recover. You walk in and you feel your shoulders go up instead of down. You sleep but don't feel rested. The laughter gets thinner. Little things irritate you more than they should. People start snapping, then acting like it never happened, then snapping again, like you're all living with your nerves exposed. What I watched for wasn't paranormal activity. It was emotional erosion. Because when emotional erosion starts, people become suggestible. They start reaching for outside answers. That's when they start calling people like who I used to be. The second sign was sudden, unexplained suspicion between family members. I'm not talking about real betrayal or clear evidence of something wrong. I'm talking about a vibe that spreads without proof. A spouse starts feeling accused no matter what they do. A parent starts interpreting a teenager's mood as disrespect or hatred. Siblings become weirdly competitive and cruel. Someone starts saying, I don't know why, but I don't trust her, and it becomes a daily script. This is one of the ugliest parts of what I used to do. I didn't always need to add anything. I only needed to amplify what was already there. If a couple already had a wound, neglect, past infidelity, money stress, resentment, I'd press on it until everything sounded like a threat. And here's the part that matters for you. If your home is filling with suspicion, you don't fix it by becoming a detective. You fix it by rebuilding trust on purpose, with structure, with honesty, with help if you need it. Because suspicion feeds on silence. The third sign was obsession. This one is huge, and people miss it because it doesn't look evil. It looks like concern. Someone becomes fixated on readings, psychics, energy checks, protection items, videos that confirm their fears, constant scanning of the room, constant asking, "Do you feel that?" Constant interpreting. When I saw obsession, I knew the door was open because obsession creates a loop: fear, action, temporary relief, more fear, and whoever is selling you relief can keep you coming back forever. If you take nothing else from me, please take this. Any person who makes you feel like peace is impossible without their services is not helping you. They are feeding. The fourth sign was your home filling with objects that came with stories. You know what I mean? Not just decor, not just gifts, things that arrive with a warning or a promise. Keep this near your bed. Don't let anyone touch it. Hide this in your living room. This will make them act right. This will protect your child. This will bring money. This will keep your man faithful. This will block the jealous ones. The moment an object becomes a tool for control, your home stops being a home and becomes a battleground. And battleground homes don't feel peaceful, even if nothing supernatural is happening at all. The fifth sign was division disguised as wisdom. Back then, I'd sometimes say things that sounded protective but were actually isolating. "Don't tell your husband about this. He won't understand. Your family is jealous of you. Stop sharing good news. Your mother-in-law is the problem. Cut her off. Your friend has a bad spirit. Don't invite her over." Sometimes those things might be true in a normal human sense. Some people really are toxic. But the pattern you should watch for is this: are you becoming more connected to your family or more alone? Because isolation is an easy house to enter. A united family is harder to shake. Now, let me tell you what I would do if I were you today, if I felt that something is off in my home. Not as a witch, as someone who has seen how these doors open and how they close. I would start with the simplest, least dramatic thing. I would calm the atmosphere. You can't fix a home in a panic. You can't protect a home while screaming at each other. You can't think clearly while everyone's nervous system is on fire. So I'd lower the volume, literally and emotionally. Turn off the constant fear content for a while. Stop binging videos that keep you keyed up. Stop feeding your mind with worst case scenarios at midnight. If you can't sleep, your discernment suffers. You become easier to manipulate by anyone. Then I would do a careful, honest sweep of what I've allowed inside. Not just objects, people, and habits. Who has access to your home? Who has access to your children? Who knows your private conflicts? Who do you vent to? Who do you invite in when you're angry at your spouse? Who do you message when you feel lonely? Because a lot of entry happens through the person you call when you should be talking to your partner. And yes, I would also look at physical items without theatrics. If there's something in your home that you accepted because you were promised it had power and it now makes you uncomfortable, remove it. You don't have to stage a ceremony. You don't have to frighten your kids. You don't have to post about it online. Just get it out of the space where your family eats, sleeps, and rests. If it was a gift from someone who would cause drama if you returned it, you're allowed to quietly dispose of it. Your family's peace matters more than someone's feelings about a pretty charm. And while you're doing that, do something even more important. Clean your home like you're reclaiming it. Open windows. Let light in. Make the place feel lived in by your family again, not weighed down by tension. You'd be surprised how much spiritual talk disappears when a home is bright, orderly, and filled with normal life again. Next, I would tighten boundaries without becoming cruel. Some families don't want to hear this, but it's true. Not everyone needs to be in your living room. You can be polite and still be firm. You can be kind and still have limits. You can stop accepting random gifts. You can stop oversharing about your marriage. You can stop allowing someone to read your child, comment on your child, touch your child's hair, ask weird questions about your child. Your kids don't need to be accessible to everyone. And if you're the type of person who worries about seeming rude, let me give you a line you can borrow without guilt. No, thank you. We're keeping things simple at home. Simple is powerful. Then I would do the hard work that actually protects a family long term. I would close the emotional cracks. This is the part people skip because it's not dramatic, but it's the real protection. Start repairing what you've left unresolved. If you and your spouse are at war, call it what it is. Don't decorate it with spiritual language. Get help, sit down, talk, go to counseling if you can. Bring in a trusted mentor, pastor, therapist, someone grounded who will build unity, not paranoia. If you have children, watch what your home sounds like to them, because kids don't feel safe in homes where adults whisper, accuse, and slam doors. And an unsafe child becomes anxious, angry, withdrawn. Then parents think something is wrong with my child, when really something is wrong with the atmosphere. I'm not blaming parents. I'm a human being. I know how life gets. I know how stress makes you short-tempered. I know how trauma makes you react fast. I'm saying this so you can stop feeling helpless. You have more authority in your home than you think. But it starts with how you speak, how you forgive, how you repair. And if you're a person of faith, bring your faith back into the center in a way that produces peace, not superstition. Pray with sincerity, not panic. Read what strengthens your mind. Speak blessings over your children instead of constant labels. Invite calm into your home through worship, through gratitude, through routine, through love. Not because you're trying to out magic someone, because you're building a different atmosphere, one that doesn't cooperate with fear. Now, there's another question people ask me, and it's usually whispered, what if I know who it is? Sometimes families have a person in mind, a jealous relative, a bitter neighbor, an ex, someone who's always watching, always competing, always smiling too tightly. Here's what I wish someone would have told me when I was deep in that world. Retaliation is a trap. If you go looking for someone to fight fire with fire, you're stepping into the same system that harmed you. And the people who offer to fight for you usually end up feeding on your fear and your money and your attention. Don't play that game. The most effective revenge against that kind of darkness is a home that refuses to fracture, a family that communicates, a marriage that rebuilds, children who feel safe, a house where laughter returns. Because the truth is, what I used to do worked best when people were already breaking. So stop breaking. Becoming steady is a form of protection. And yes, sometimes you need outside help, but not the kind that hooks you into dependency. If you feel overwhelmed, talk to a grounded counselor. Talk to a trusted faith leader who doesn't sensationalize everything. Talk to someone who helps you take responsibility for what you can change and release what you can't.